Hey guys, it's Julia and welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm going to be doing an author spotlight video. I've never done one of these before, but I did do a similar video called Comparing Gillian Flynn's books, and I never knew what to call the title, and I was doing some internet searches and I found out that people call them author spotlight videos or something along those lines, like author exploration videos, things like that. So I'm going to be doing one on Colleen Hoover. So these are all the Colleen Hoover books I own, and I've read all of these, and this is all the novels she has out, but she also has serialized novels out, which is the 3 Never Never parts, which I have not read, which she also co-wrote with Taryn Fisher, but I have not read those, but I'm going to be talking about the 11 books that I have read by her. If you do not know, Colleen Hoover is a new adult author, sometimes bridging on the adult kind of side, but if you don't know, new adult is kind of don't mind the movement, the camera movement, but basically, if you are unaware, new adult is the bridge between YA and adult, and it's kind of like you're following older characters and stuff, but it's like sexier than YA, if you know what I mean. Colleen Hoover is kind of considered the queen of new adult, which I haven't really explored the new adult genre that much, but Colleen Hoover's books are excellent. They're always, just know this, they're usually always sad. There's usually always a good big twist. And usually you'll love the characters because the characters make up most of the story, and they're always romances. I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read by her and my personal opinions on them, and then I'll be sharing kind of like where I think you should start and like where I started and things like that. So I'll start off by talking about Slammed, which is her debut novel. Basically, this deals with slam poetry. It kind of has that teacher love affair kind of student teacher love affair kind of story. And this one, since it's her debut, you can definitely see the difference in her writing and how much she's progressed. But this is not just a standalone, it's actually a trilogy. It does have a sequel, and then the last book is the first book in the guy's point of view, which I did really enjoy these books. I found I really loved the characters, and despite kind of like the immaturity of some of them, I did enjoy them overall. They're really fun read. I think it's like the 3rd lowest Colleen Hoover book that I've rated. I gave these between maybe 3.5 stars and around there. But I thought the last installment, usually these kind of books are like pointless in my opinion, like the first book in this person's perspective, but this was really good. I think it added more. We got to hear more about the guy's point of view. So yeah, these are really interesting reads, and if you want to start off with Colleen Hoover, maybe start with her debut. This is a very popular one that is one of the first you hear when you hear her name, and that is Maybe Someday. This one deals with a girl who is dating this boy, and he cheats on her with her best friend, so she has to move out of the apartment, and she moves upstairs with this guy named Ridge, and they write lyrics together, and he plays a guitar, and it has this other element to it as well that I don't want to say. It's better not to know, but it's just this book is like one of the lightest Colleen Hoover books. It is still sad, but it's more on the lighter side, so if you're looking for that, then I'll go with this. Also, if you're a fan of music and interesting things like that, I would go with this one as well. But this also has a novella, which is called Maybe Not, which is about 2 of the other roommates and their romance, and this is just basically full of sex scenes. Basically, this one is probably more adult than this, but overall I thought this was really good. Like, you got to know about the characters a lot, and it was steamy, blah blah blah. But for Maybe Someday, it's not my favorite Colleen Hoover book. It's like my 2nd least favorite, but it's still an enjoyable read. I see why people love it so much, but some of it wasn't my cup of tea, but it's still enjoyable. So Maybe Someday might intrigue you. Is November 9. I mean, this book is about 2 people who meet on November 9, and they choose to meet up once a year on this exact date, and it's about their romance and all the complications. This book was my least favorite Colleen Hoover book, which this is people's most like favorite, but I didn't like the humor. It was like the snarky, sexy humor, and like it was kind of creepy in my opinion, and it just This one wasn't my taste. Like, it was decent. The twist made up for it in ways, but it just wasn't my taste. And I don't know, this is my least favorite Colleen Hoover book, which I was kind of disappointed that I didn't enjoy this one that much, but I still gave it, I think, like 3 stars or 3.5 stars or something. But it was okay. It's like, but a lot of people love this one, so maybe you do want to start with November 9, and it's her most recent. Here we have is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, of course, and this book is more of an adult book because it does have more sex scenes than the rest of the books, but this is personally one of my favorites. It's the second one I've read, I think, the second one I read, and it's just, it is kind of like a friend with benefits kind of story, but it's actually really good and really hard hitting, and it just blew me away. I flew through it. I loved it. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites of last year. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a very high rating. I really liked it. So maybe you want to start with Ugly Love, but do remember this is more on the adult side than the other books. Next here I have is Confess. And this is another one that I really love. This has an aspect of art to it, and it's about a girl who's like going around looking for a job, and she sees this guy and he's like, you know, he's an artist, and she starts working with him. And it's about complications, their romance, and I don't know what else to say. And they're both kind of hiding things, and it's interesting because Owen is the guy's name, and he makes art, obviously, but he bases his art off of people's confessions that they leave. So like, there's actual pictures of art in this book, and it's pretty, and yeah. But this was my first Colleen Hoover book, and it encouraged me to pick up the rest of her books. This was my first, I believe, and it was really good. This is the second most recent release, and it's a really solid book, so maybe you want to start with Confess. Next we have These Babies, which is Hopeless, the companion novel Losing Hope, and then the novella Finding Cinderella. This is one of the darkest of Colleen Hoover's novels. It's about these people's romance and all the complications like all the rest, but it is the darkest, and it's one of my favorites. It's great. I think now, if I read it now, I would have a more different opinion than when I first read it, but it's still a solid read, and if you're looking for something really dark, Hopeless is the way to go. The companion novel Losing Hope is just hopeless in the guy's perspective, but again, I feel like this added a lot to this story, so I feel like if you're gonna read Hopeless and you enjoy it, I feel like Losing Hope is necessary. Finding Cinderella, which is an enjoyable novella, and it's about 2 of the side characters in these books, their romance, and it was really interesting, so maybe you want to start with these. So for the most part, I do love Colleen Hoover's books. These are my 3 favorites: Ugly Love, Hopeless, and Confess. And I did start with Confess, and that encouraged me, so maybe you want to start there. But then again, when I went to Slammed, I thought the writing was a bit not as good as the others, so like maybe you want to start with the debut. My 2 least favorites tend to be the most popular, and that is November 9 and Maybe Someday. I still did enjoy Maybe Someday, but November 9 wasn't really my thing, but they're still decent reads, and I still gave them higher than 3 stars, I think. So, and as you can see, Colleen Hoover does write novellas, like I said before, and both of her novellas are solid. Sometimes you love the side characters more than the main characters, so when you have separate novellas like this, it's really nice to have. And she also writes, like I said before, books that are the first book but in someone else's point of view, which I do think hers are necessary because they do add something special to the story. So yeah. When I go into Colleen Hoover's books, usually I don't know much. I just usually know how dark they are, if they're involving art or music or whatever. But her new book is coming out in August, which is called It Ends With Us. I'll put the cover here, but I'm really excited for that release. I don't know anything about it, and I don't want to know anything about it because I just like going into her books blindly. That's how I went into most of her books. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've never read a Colleen Hoover book. If you read a Colleen Hoover book, what's your favorite? If you haven't read one, where do you want to start? And all that sort of jazz down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time with a new one.